guys, we'll get started here in about a minute, but just to let you know, we will record, we will record the entire presentation. So if you guys have partners or clients or community members that you would like to share this with after the fact, or colleagues, please feel free. I will send it out to everyone after the call. I will ask that before everybody signs off today, please make sure you add your email to the chat box for me. And that way I can make sure that all the information goes out to everybody after the meeting today. Hey Quad, hey Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hey Grace, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, how about you?
Doing pretty good.
Good. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I will begin sharing screen here. And again, if we have anyone join during the meeting, we will just keep rolling through, and of course the recording will be available to everyone afterwards. So if you miss something, or if you have a colleague that is like, oh, I missed the beginning of the meeting, tell them not to worry, I'm going to send it out. And here we go. I'm going to go ahead and hide our video panel so it's not going to mess up our recording. And we're going to go ahead and make sure that our computer sound is going to work the way we want it. All right. So thanks guys for being here today. This is our Faithful Families Interest webinar for Healthier Together Georgia. This programming is going to be a faith-based program. So this is our kind of our foray into entering our faith communities, engaging our faith communities. We all know that especially in rural communities, that these are community centers, in much the similar way that schools are community centers. These are places where we are often, where we have a really good sense of community, where we feel like family. So it's a great place to address behavior changes with health, and to talk about how health can really improve your life. So with that being said, I do want to mention that this is a North Carolina State Extension program is where it was created, and they have shared it out to the rest of the country. I was able to participate in the training actually January of this year, and that was really great, and I really enjoyed it. The mission for Faithful Families is really to inspire faith communities to be health champions for individuals, families, and local communities. And, you know, like we were talking about why faith communities, we know that through research and practice that faith communities play a really important role in local communities, particularly those that lack public health resources, like our southwest rural Georgia counties especially, but like many rural counties in this country. There are many things they can offer both their communities and members of the broader community, not just within their faith community, but for the entirety of the community itself, whether it's the city that you live in, whether it's the county that you live in, or if maybe it's just your street, but whatever that wider community might be, this can be an opportunity for increasing access for those people too. And that could look like holding health programming, having space to do that, spiritual guidance, and an opportunity to connect faith to health. So our vision statement is that Faithful Families believes that communities of faith are important health advocates, particularly communities affected by health disparities or lacking access to crucial resources. We must empower faith communities to become change makers to help their communities thrive. physically, mentally, and spiritually. And those things really go hand in hand with one another. And it's really important that we kind of address this in all areas of our lives, because this is a change we would like to see in all areas of our lives. So when we talk about connecting faith and health, it can be a little confusing, especially because I am a state employee, and sometimes people wonder, how does that work? So the way that we make this work is we connect lay leaders, and a lay leader is somebody in the community who is part of the faith community, who is a champion for health maybe in that community, but isn't maybe a traditional health advocate, and is someone who's a little more average in their knowledge of health. So we look for people who are going to be relatable to our overall faith community that we're working with. So the strategies that we use to work on this multi-level approach, where we are working through the lay leaders to implement, we look to increase healthy eating behaviors and opportunities. That looks like increasing nutrition knowledge, increasing knowledge about meal planning, even label reading in the grocery store. We also look at increasing daily physical activity behavior. As you move through today, you'll realize that we call that move more. And I really like that framing, because sometimes when we say you have to get this amount of physical activity, it can be a little intimidating. But when we're just saying more, that's scaled, and that can just kind of be to whatever you feel comfortable with. And it's a little less intimidating for people. So I really like that. And then we also want to provide connections with the community and clinical resources in your community. So whether it's the Department of Public Health or local food resources, we just want to make sure that we are providing that connection. If there are resources there that aren't being tapped into, that we make those resources available and we make it easy to access those resources. We definitely have room to increase as needed, depending on the needs of the faith community. Again, this really goes back to listening to faith communities and allowing them to guide a lot of this engagement and support. So as we talk through what we're going to talk through next, which are PSE, policy, systems, and environmental changes in our communities, I really want to emphasize and highlight that what the faith communities think will be most effective, impactful, and important are really what we want to make sure we focus on, because, as I always say, I could never come into a community that I don't live in and tell people what is best for them. So we really want to, kind of emphasize that this is a give and take, and this is a conversation that is being had between the health educators and the community that we're working with in the faith community. So we're going to talk a little bit about policy, systems, and environmental changes. Part of this programming that we're going to highlight the curriculum of in a minute is looking at what we can change in these areas moving out of the programming. So we are definitely looking for individual behavior changes, but we are also hoping that we can make a wider impact to the community. And this is where Healthier Together grant funds can also come in to provide deliverables to help faith communities meet these changes in their environment. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what I mean by a policy, a systems, and an environmental change. A policy change is they call it a little p. So it's kind of, it's a move towards a change, but it's kind of a soft move towards a change, where you're creating or changing an organization's written statement on a position, decision, or course of action. In regards to faithful families, we're talking about like the faith institution or a work site with our little p's, and then a big P. A big policy change might be something that we're incorporating our local government into. So we're changing maybe a law or something a little more firm. But we are really, with our faith communities, looking for these little p changes, or just something in a written statement that says, for example, we are going to serve water at all of our faith meals. It's something as simple as that. A systems change is something a little bigger. This is creating or changing the rules or processes within an organization, which alters how it operates. So this might be, let's say that you meet for worship every Sunday, so 4 times a month. Maybe on that third Sunday, You have a movement worship where everyone stands up the whole time or does some kind of exercise within the worship that day. So this could just be something simple about how your church works, how it operates on a regular basis. And it could be a really simple change just to kind of help people either highlight nutrition information, maybe get more physical activity, or maybe have more access to healthy food. We also have environmental changes, and these are kind of what we traditionally think about as a change. This is like creating or changing the physical, economic, or social environment. Some examples of this could be adding a community garden to your faith property. This could be having a farmer's market come in every so often when you are working with a local farmer. Let's say every third Sunday, a farmer's market comes and you're creating an environmental change because you're changing the access and the environment to healthy food. This could look like a walking trail on your church property. This could look like playground equipment. It could look like a lot of things. And this, again, is kind of where those Healthier Together grant funds can come in and help kind of create some funds to make these changes. So I do just want to highlight, when we are asking faith communities to participate here, we are definitely offering 9 weeks of nutrition education, which is valuable in and of itself. But by asking for that commitment and that engagement from the faith community, we're also saying that will help you make these policy systems and environmental changes down the road. So why are these changes so important for health promotion? Why did I just talk to you about it for so long? I just kind of want to highlight why we think this is so important. It's kind of a three-pronged approach. Based on this model, which is a socio-ecological model of health. Some of you guys probably recognize it. This recognizes the importance of larger community change along with our individual behavior changes that we're trying to accomplish through our nutrition education. So if you think about what it really means to change, changes can sustain healthy lifestyles. It's incredibly difficult to do so when the environment that you work, live, or play in doesn't support these changes. So the program approach consists of 3 components. All 3 approaches are needed to be considered for faithful families. This means you must actively work with the faith community to address these components. So the curriculum without addressing PSE changes is not going to be a long-lasting impact. So we want to make sure that as we move into our faith communities, that our faith communities know that this is a long-lasting partnership that we would like to form, that we are not going to just give 9 weeks of education and leave, that this is something that we are really in for the long haul. We really want to see those individual changes, but we also want to, change the environment, change the policies, change the systems to make it easier for those individual changes to take place. So part of the lessons will be direct education, right? So we work through the individual level and the interpersonal level through direct education, which is completing the 9 weeks of Eat Smart, Moving More lessons. We also have an additional 4 chronic disease lessons if the faith community is interested once the 9 weeks are over. So building on that approach, we also have our PSE changes. So we have the goal of implementing at least 1 policy and 1 environmental change with every faith community that goes through this programming. And we hope to create long-term lasting impact and also long-term engagement that way with this kind of thinking and with these nutrition knowledge pieces kind of intertwined into what becomes daily life at our faith community. And then finally, looking up at that very tip top of public policy, community engagement is so important. So connecting our faith community with community resources, programming, and other partners who might have resources that'll be useful. So we do just want to highlight that this is not just direct education, but it's so much more. And hopefully that will help us create that long-term engagement that we're looking for. We know and we've learned that working with faith communities in this way, it requires long-term engagement because faith communities might have different priorities, schedules that don't align with exactly what your health educator is doing. You might experience some challenges with that, but it's really important to be flexible to help create this long-term engagement. When we're talking about 9 weeks of classes, that could look literally like a couple of months, or that could look like an entire year's worth of programming just spread out throughout the year. So we really want to highlight that we're in this for the long haul, and we really, really want to connect with these faith communities on a deeper level than just the direct education piece. This is Dawn Gibson from a faith community in North Carolina, and I just wanted to share with you guys her experience with the programming and what their church was able to accomplish with the PSC changes after the fact.
We have been so blessed by Faithful Families and by the work that Kelly has done with us here, because one of the classes when she was teaching, one of our parishioners raised their hand and they said, after this class, I have realized that I've been using my fork like it was a grave digger. And it really hit home because it was really talking about that we weren't really thinking about the choices that we were making about healthy foods. And so from this class, Faithful Families, we've been able to make better choices. We have instituted a water policy here at our church. The children know that even though they might like other kinds of drinks, the first drink of option is water here at the church. And so we here at Peloton Ministries have been really thankful because from that work, we then started looking at where was there access to food, fresh foods in our community. And then we went on and said, well, what can we do? So we've started a small farmers market, which is the Joseph Community Farmers Market, which is starting this month here in June. And we're really excited because it all came from the work that we learned and what we gained from Faithful Families.
So that was just kind of a look at what they did. So their policy change was making sure the kids know that they have water as their first option when having community faith meals. And then also they implemented a farmer's market. And so that was an environmental change as well as a systems change. And so we're really, really, we would love to see this kind of thing in our faith communities that we work with here in Georgia. And I know that we definitely have the resources to make that happen with the Healthier Together grant. So hopefully this will be a perfect solution for some of our faith communities here in South Georgia or in North Georgia. So just to kind of give you guys a quick idea of how this all began, Faithful Families was created in 2007 after a statewide stakeholder meeting. North Carolina Extension called together 40 stakeholders from faith and health leaders to talk about how this should be set up and in the way that this should flow. They talked about that the program should be geared towards communities with the greatest need, and that it should also not include scripture. And so that way it can be for all faiths. So I do really just want to highlight here that the reason that we tie in our lay leader is to keep our health educators in our roles, as well as allowing for diversity in who we're able to engage with this kind of programming. We really, really like it. And I really appreciate, this was reviewed by an interfaith panel of experts. So we know that this programming was approved for faith communities and it was, created with faith communities in mind. To talk a little bit more about how this works, we pair our trained facilitator. So that would be me, the Healthier Together Educator, or it might be a program assistant or a fax agent in your county. The trained facilitator brings together a trained lay leader from the community, and they partner to give successful programming that provides good nutrition information from our trained facilitator, along with faith and congressional supporting information from the lay leader. So that way you are, like we said, staying in your lane, and we're also able to kind of diversify the way that we're able to relate this programming to faith communities. So what is the best way to look for a lay leader in your community? Who is that person, likely to be? This lay leader is somebody who's maybe passionate about health, knowledgeable about their community, We really encourage them to be non-clergy member because it usually is just a little bit easier to keep up with. We know clergy members also often have a lot more on their plate. So if you have a church administrator, a lot of times that's kind of the perfect person for this role. Or, just the person or the lady in your church who kind of like is in charge, we all know who that is. She's probably the person that you want to engage for this kind of thing. You want somebody who's a leader, but you want somebody who is comfortable and isn't going to be seen as too much of an expert. And so you're able to kind of give that comfort level to the rest of the faith community as you're teaching. So for that reason, we also suggest it in being a non-health professional if possible. That being said, though, if it is a health professional, because that's who the best person is in that faith community, I wouldn't worry about it. It's just kind of a guideline to help us keep that engagement between the lay leader and the faith community. I did just want to give a quick overview of the lay leader training guide, just in case we have anybody watching that is interested in becoming a lay leader. We are not asking for too much time commitment from our lay leader. Mostly what we're asking for is ensuring that faith and health connection. So traditionally, this programming was given in person, and due to challenges with COVID-19, we have shifted this to an online platform. So the only thing that we would be asking a lay leader to do is engage with the community, remind them to watch the videos, and then meet with a group and the facilitator once a week, once a month, however often is most convenient for the faith community to space the lessons. And we can definitely work with whatever timeline is best for the faith community. And all we would ask is that they give a little bit of an assignment. We'll talk a little bit about what that might look like later, to have your faith community members looking at how this might relate to their faith and their scripture, and be able to talk about how those things relate when we have our monthly meeting. That meeting can take place right now virtually via Zoom. It could be just a phone call, whatever the faith community is most comfortable with. So faith communities that sign up for the program, just to kind of summarize here, are offered 9 weeks of nutrition and physical activity education classes using the Faithful Families curriculum, which we'll look at a little bit more in a second. We look at implementing policy and environmental changes after that 9 weeks of nutrition information in the faith community. And we also, like we said, connect our other county and community health resources to the faith community to make sure everyone has access to what they need. Next, I'm going to go through our curriculum just briefly so you guys can kind of understand what the whole shebang is here. So the Faithful Families Thriving Communities curriculum is made up of 2 parts. First are 9 lessons in Eat Smart and Moving More. And then there are 4 chronic disease lessons that are a little bit more specific that can follow. Those are going to be pre-diabetes, diabetes, hypertension, and cancer. So if the faith community would like to look at a particular one of those chronic disease lessons or all 4 of them, that's also available once those 9 weeks are finished. There are 9 lessons in the Faithful Families Eating Smart and Moving More curriculum. They kind of build on each other as you move through the weeks. So we start with plan, know what's for dinner. So that takes you through planning for dinner, how that can help you save money, how it can help you eat healthier, and how it can help you have a more enjoyable family dinner with your kids. We look at getting the best for less. So we look at shopping, we look at looking at nutrition facts, being able to read and accurately say, due to unit pricing, this is the better option. We look at fixing it fast and eating at home. So kind of looking at that fast food aspect of our diet that we all fall into, especially when we're really busy. So this kind of looks at reframing that time that it might take you to go through a drive-through and using that time instead to make a healthy meal at home. Choosing more fruits and vegetables is the one that we're going to look at today as an example. Fixing it safe, so that takes you through food safety concerns. Making smart drink choices is all about sugary drinks and beverages and things that we should avoid, and how we can, work to make behavior changes that allow us to drink more water and to stay hydrated. And then finally, the 9th lesson is called Making the Connection. And it's really just a lesson about finishing out everything, talking about what you've learned, talking about how you can take all of this back to your regular life and really make a difference for yourself and also hopefully for your faith community. So like we said, these address key nutrition and physical activity behaviors. And again, they are co-taught by health educators from either the local health department or extension and lay leaders from that particular faith community. And again, I do want to highlight that this is open for any religion, any religious denomination, and it's set up specifically that way so it can be very inclusive. Each lesson is going to have the lesson that we just talked about, the nutrition information, and then it's also going to have a recipe that goes along with that lesson. We will have the recipe with instructions, tips, and ingredients. And then there will also be a recipe video to demonstrate how it was made. There are also in all of these lessons, we include food safety messages wherever needed. And we also look at some interesting food prep techniques that might help you save time and money. And then finally, each lesson also has handouts. On the right, you'll see the recipe I was talking about before. On that recipe page, you're also going to have a physical activity instruction. Like we said, it's going to be called Moving More. So this one is suggesting to start a walking group. And each week you'll have a different suggestion to kind of help you start thinking about how you can move more in your daily life. And each lesson will also have a handout to help you go through what you learned that week and help you apply it. So this one was for plan, know what's for dinner. And this is about creating a menu for your dinner that week to help you kind of remember what's easy to make, what you can make, and to help answer that question that we all get, what's for dinner? And so you know what's for dinner. You can tell them, check the fridge. And also I did just want to highlight that we do have these materials available in Spanish as well, so that we can give this curriculum to Spanish speaking congregations as well. We do not have any other languages at this time, but I do know that they are working on developing some more over at NC State. So if you are a health educator or you're a part of a faith community that isn't represented here and you need information in a particular language, please let me know and I can let NC State know to add it to their list. I'm just going to go through briefly with you guys what the virtual curriculum looks like. I have linked our UGA Extension website here for Healthier Together at the bottom, and I will send these slides out after the meeting. You can navigate from this link to our Faithful Families portion of the Healthier Together website. I've taken a screenshot that you can see here on the right, and you can go through, check out each lesson, see what you think. But we are going to look specifically today at what lesson 5 looks like virtually and what this might look like as you're moving forward as a faith community with this programming. So on our Faithful Families website, we have them broken down by lesson. And for lesson 5, choosing more fruits and vegetables, what you'll see is a lesson video to start. I'm just going to play you guys the first minute or so you can get kind of an idea of what this looks like. Oops. Hi, welcome back to Faithful Families, Thriving Communities. My name is Grace Holmes, and I will be leading today's lesson. Today is all about color, the color of fruits and vegetables. We are going to discuss ways to increase how many fruits and vegetables we eat. Fruits and vegetables are a very important part of a healthy diet. We want to make half of our plate fruits and veggies. And we want to do it by eating a variety of colors, especially deep green, red, and orange. Colorful fruits and vegetables provide us with many health benefits. They give our bodies so many important nutrients that help keep us healthy. And so that's just a kind of a taste of what it's like. It's, I basically narrate a presentation, and then there's the recipe video. The way this would work is you would ask your faith community members to watch these videos during some portion of time, depending on how much you're spacing out your lessons. And then we'll schedule a meeting to all come together and talk about the lesson for that week. The lay leader will relate it to the faith, and it'll work that way. So this virtual programming is really a lot less labor intensive. We're asking community members for a lot less time commitment, which is something, if you are a health educator, you can really highlight when offering this to faith communities. I'll give you guys a quick demonstration of the recipe.
I love to stir fry. It's quick, colorful, and nutritious. Today I will show you how to make a stir fry with sauce that's big on flavor and light on sodium. Before beginning, be sure to wash your hands and sanitize your work surfaces. Read the recipe and collect all the ingredients and cooking supplies that you'll need and place them on the counter. To make the stir-fry sauce, place the following ingredients in a small saucepan: sodium-free beef bouillon, apple cider vinegar.
So as you can see, as you roll through these recipe demonstrations, if you're watching it while you're making your meal, it's really helpful because they list all the ingredients on the screen as you're doing it. So it's always good to have your recipe with you, but this is really helpful if you want to try the recipe, or if you're just interested in the cooking technique that's being used. This can really help with kind of bringing that to life, where we can't give you a recipe demonstration in person right now. And then finally, each lesson will include a move more example, which is what we're going to give for lesson 5. Some of them might not have a move more video. They might have something that builds on the lesson information. It just depends. But there will always be a lesson video, a recipe demonstration, and handouts that go along with it loaded onto that page.
We are EBNEP on the move.
We are EBNEP on the move.
Walking keeps us in the groove.
Walking keeps us in the groove.
EBNEP lessons from the heart.
EBNEP lessons from the heart.
Help us learn how to eat smart.
Help us learn how to eat smart.
There's a red, black, and blue.
There's a red, black, and blue.
In your lunch, they're good for you.
In your lunch, they're good for you.
So just fun things like that. It can feel a little silly, but it's always more fun when you're silly together. If there is a move more break, a lot of times what you might want to do is save that so you can all do it together via your meeting that you're having in between the lessons. You can kind of work out however you want, but lots of fun information. This is specific to FNET because NC State works through their FNET educators a lot, and we might be doing that too in Georgia. So it's just really fun and a cool way to kind of engage and feel silly with your faith community. So last but not least, I do just want to take you guys through what that meeting that I'm talking about might look like. So, we have everybody watch the videos that week, and then we all come together to talk about it. What are we going to talk about? So the lay leader might have asked the community members to look at a couple of passages that they might relate to fruits and vegetables. The lay leader might ask the participants to read their passage or part of it, talk about why they chose that, and explain what they think it says about fruits and vegetables. So you might choose one of these questions, and we would provide this to our lay leaders. What are some common themes you see? What do these passages say to us about why these healthy foods are important to our faith tradition? Or did any of these stand out to you? Why or why not? And the facilitator, hopefully you've had a chance to review the lesson video, you've learned something, and then we'll ask questions, discussion questions, kind of let people talk about what they liked, what they thought about the lesson, and just really talk about how they feel challenged by the information, where they feel like, I don't think that I can do that because of X, Y, Z. And then we can talk about some of those challenges and how they might be able to overcome them. And that's basically it. This doesn't have to be longer than an hour. It is really asking for a lot less time commitment. You can do it from the comfort of your home. So we're really hopeful that this will allow more faith members to get involved. And this this meeting can always be recorded for faith community members who aren't able to make that meeting, which is kind of the benefit of being able to do it virtually, is being able to share after the fact as well. So I am going to go ahead and stop there and ask for questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can all see each other. Does anybody have any burning questions while we're watching this? Let me check the chat box here. Yes, Hannah, that's a great point. These meetings could definitely fit into the time limit a free Zoom account requires, which is 40 minutes, I believe. So we could definitely have these lessons within that time period, or these meetings, excuse me, which is great. And, you know, the original iteration of this programming was asking for about 2.5 hours of lessons, 90 minutes at least, and for people to come in person in the evening after work. So I'm really hopeful that this format, while yes, it will keep us all safe and we're addressing social distancing and the need to not be in groups right now with COVID, but I think this is also a good model even when we move out of that area, because you know, this really is a more accessible way for people to get this information. And of course, once we are able to be in person, this can be adjusted again if that is what is best for your faith community, because we really want to make sure that we are being flexible and doing whatever the faith community needs the most. But do you have any other questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? And yes, I did just want to mention Healthier Together grant funds are only available for our Healthier Together counties, of course. But, you know, this is a great opportunity to ask your local fax agent about what grants they might know about. This is a great opportunity for the church to look into that. This is a great opportunity for the church to come together with their donations and maybe buy a garden bed if you're in a county that isn't a Healthier Together county, which is Clay, Calhoun, Dooley, and Stewart County in our Southwest District. But just to mention that, I do want to make that clear. Sorry, Jack.
Can places of worship outside of those counties take part or sign up in the program?
Absolutely. This is available to anybody in the state. If you are outside of those counties, I will not be giving you the programming directly during meetings. I will be giving it to you during the lessons, of course, because I recorded them. But you will be able to connect with your local fax agent or program assistant to give you those meetings and to work with the lay leader on the programming. So this is definitely available to anyone, any faith community that's interested. And if you are interested, I definitely recommend either, you know, reaching out to your local extension agent or even the health department, and you guys can connect us back.
I mean, so like if we wanted to do it, let's say like in Chattahoochee, we would go to the Chattahoochee agent and then they would do it?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Let them know you're interested. And they will get with me. And that's the other thing, guys. I'll just mention, I know we have kind of a mixed bag here of folks who might be interested in giving this programming and folks who might be interested in having this programming with their faith community. So if you are a health educator or an extension agent who is interested in giving this programming and you would like a training, please reach out to me and we can schedule a training. I can give you guys this training in a couple of hours via Zoom. So just let me know. And this is also, I should mention, a train the trainer kind of programming. So if you get trained, you can train someone else. I'm just asking for the training materials.
And I have a question. In Randolph, is there a way, I know this is supposed to be church related kind of communities for that. Is there a way we could do this and possibly teach it like at the local senior citizen center?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing about this programming, Chris. That's a great question. This programming is really, really geared towards anyone who might need this kind of nutrition and physical activity information. And there is an opportunity to give this programming in settings outside of a faith setting and to just not have that lay leader connection, or to bring in a lay leader from outside of the senior center that would connect with the senior center members. You could do it like that too. But this programming, I would definitely encourage, if you guys have an audience that you're like, I'd love to show these videos to people, but it's not a faith community, please feel free, because I think this is great information for anyone.
Okay, that helps. And as you're talking, we have the lady who runs our senior citizen also has like, it's maybe low income housing. It's not through like the housing authority, but they're elderly people, and she does, you know, different activities with them. And I'm thinking maybe it would fit with them as well, because they have kind of like their own little kitchen, and they would leave their apartments and come to one location that's there on the facilities.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Comment, Grace, I'm sorry.
Hey, so are all the classes videotaped or are they interactive?
All of them are videotaped because we want to give people the opportunity to kind of do it on their own time. So we don't want to have like a specific hour we'll be giving the programming. Rather, we want people to be able to kind of navigate to it whenever is convenient for them. Especially because we know we have a lot of faith community members. Some might be retired, some might be working full time. I will pop my contact information in the chat box, Carly. So, sorry.
So do they have, okay, so let's say I do the course, but I have questions. Is there a way for me to follow up with that with an educator?
So let me re-clarify. So basically what happens is you have your faith community, you get everybody together in an email list, and you let them know, you know, we've got lesson 1 for this period of time. Could be a week if they're looking at a 9-week period with you. If they're looking at doing lessons once a month, it could be over a month-long period that you ask them to look at the information. And that really is going to be dependent on what your faith community is most comfortable with. So if they want to get it done quickly, that's great. If they want to space it out, you know, that's great too. You just give them that time frame and you allow them to go over the information. They would have the health educator's contact information. So if they're interested in reaching out individually, that would definitely be encouraged. But then what would happen is with every lesson, you plan a meeting afterwards to bring the lay leader and the faith community together, which is what we were looking at, right here. So this would be an example of how that meeting would go via Zoom or a phone call or whatever the faith community is most comfortable with. And you would have the lay leader talk about that information with passages, depending on what they gave them for homework. And then the facilitator will talk about the lesson. They'll give some discussion questions. You know, like I said, ask about obstacles that the faith community member may be facing, how they might be able to overcome them, maybe give them some suggestions for how that could work, those kinds of things, and just allow it to be a discussion, some, you know, a led discussion, of course, but kind of allow people to ask questions, to give feedback, and to maybe even let them know, I didn't understand. And then the faith community, either the faith community can receive information from the facilitator afterwards to kind of finish highlighting that point, or, you know, you can always schedule another lesson one-on-one with that person if necessary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So like I said, I mean, this is something that can kind of be whatever the faith community is most comfortable with. I was talking to Tara Gardner, actually, in Clay County earlier this morning, and they are looking at a similar program called Body and Soul. And they really ran into an issue where most of their faith community members wanted to be on a phone call rather than a Zoom. And so this kind of format allows us to be able to offer both. To say, you know, you guys have access to the videos, So you can watch them on your own time, and then we can have a phone call about it if, you know, the internet's just not good enough for a Zoom call or something like that. Or, you know, if they can access videos at the local library, but they can't go to the local library at 6 p.m., you know, for this meeting that you're going to have after the fact, you can make it a phone call. Obviously with Zoom, you can call in, but you can kind of adjust this to work however is best for your faith community. And with, you know, the challenge of COVID and people, a lot of churches not even meeting in person right now. I know some churches are actually doing their services via phone. So, you know, kind of figuring out what that faith community needs is a really important part of this, I think, and making sure you're being accommodating to that. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns?
I'm sorry. I heard something about church, and I was on 2 Zooms at one time. But can you repeat what you said about church? And I'm so sorry.
No, ma'am. No worries. Absolutely. So we are basically what the premise of the Faithful Families is to connect our nutrition educators with this nutrition information to our lay leaders who will be a member of our faith community. And what that does is it allows the health educator to stay in their lane, and then allows the faith community member, the lay leader, to connect the nutrition information to scripture, and also to be able to talk with authority about what the faith community needs when we're talking about, you know, environmental changes down the road, like a community garden perchance or something like that. This kind of is a way to allow the faith community to be a place for this nutrition information, to be a center that we know it is for our community, and to kind of use that center as a way to get this information out. And I, please, everybody, just a reminder, if you guys are on the meeting today, please make sure you put your email in the chat box, and I will send the recording of this whole meeting after the fact, just in case anything was missed at the beginning, or there's someone else you'd like to share this with as well.
Okay, now we are meeting in church. We have not stopped having church since the pandemic started, but we were meeting outside, and we were doing what we call a drive-in service. And is there anything that I can take to the church to distribute? We only have certain ones to come in, you know, they have to reserve. We only have a certain number. So is there anything that I can take to the church to distribute to them?
Yes, ma'am. I will send you a flyer, if that's okay, right after the meeting. What is the best email to send that to?
ROBIN,
Yes, ma'am.
ROBIN71@gmail.com.
Yes, ma'am. I will make sure to follow up with a couple of different flyers. And then and also this recording, of course. And then if you have any other questions, I did drop my cell phone as well as my office phone in the box, and please feel free to give me a call anytime. And I would be happy to answer the questions. Or if you have a lay leader in mind and they want to ask me some questions, feel free to share my information.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Carly, yes, a parish nurse would definitely be able to fulfill that role, especially in a small church. If that's the best person for it, I would definitely encourage using that person. We mentioned that maybe it shouldn't be a healthcare professional because we worry that it could be intimidating for faith community members who aren't healthcare professionals. You know, it could be a little bit more comfortable to hear it from someone who's kind of on the same level as you with health information, but also, you know, a parish nurse is somebody who's going to have authority on health information, and I think would be a good choice for this. Yes, ma'am. then, that's the other thing is we do want to make sure we're choosing lay leaders who really are interested and passionate and want to do this. We definitely don't want to be, forcing another thing onto someone's plate. We want this to be like a really positive interaction. So we want to make sure that we are, working with the faith community as best as possible. Any other questions? I don't want to drag this out too long, you guys, because I know, it's lunchtime. I really appreciate everyone's time today. But please, if you have any more questions, ask me. And you're also welcome to give me a call or follow up with me via email if you have some questions that you don't want to ask in this setting. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go. Thank you guys so much again for joining us today. Again, I will send out the recording and feel free to share this with anybody who you think might be interested. And again, if you are an agent or a health educator that is interested in receiving training for this program, let me know and we can schedule a time. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a happy holiday. Hopefully your living rooms look nice like this fake living room behind me. And I hope you guys have a really wonderful holiday. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.